Well, good morning, Mr. Frank Slootman.
Good morning.
Good morning. Being the chairman and the CEO of Snowflake, happy to find that you had the time to have a small talk with the guys in the Netherlands. So thank you very much to start with. At first, congratulations with the Snowflake IPO. It seems that Snowflake now is one of the top tech players, right?
Well, it's been a heck of a couple of weeks, and obviously we're super pleased with the reception in the public markets. Very high conviction on the part of our investors. So I'd say so far so good.
Right. So just to be curious, did you predict this outcome way ahead in your head already, Frank, or not?
In some part, yes. In other parts, no. Obviously, you probably noticed that when we originally filed, the price range was 75 to 85. Then we refiled over the weekend of the roadshow to 100 to 110, and then we finally priced at 120. And then the day of the first trade, it just jumped up to whatever 250 plus. So we certainly weren't counting on what happened on the first day when the stock started trading. And it just shows you that it was just a frenzy. People wanted to own this name. There were not a lot of sellers, and there were a lot of buyers. And we know what happens when you have that dynamic.
Right. So if I'm correct, it is your third executive successful IPO. So what's your trick? So what's in terms of results and growth? What is the thing you do?
There's no trick. We're running companies, for growth. That's how we drive value for investors. The IPOs themselves, tend to get, a lot of publicity, and people are very interested in them. For people like me, they're like a bump on the road. They come and they go. It's part of the transition, from, sometimes I call it, you go from playing on Saturday to playing on Sunday. It's a different mode. So we don't over rotate on the IPO event itself. We're back to work, doing what we do, and it's about building companies, building businesses. You put one foot in front of the other, one brick in the wall after another, and that's really what it is, right? So the IPO is a big marketing event. It's the biggest marketing event you'll ever have as a company. So we certainly used it to maximum effect, and we're feeling the tailwinds from it. So it's all good.
All right. So if you look to the expectations of shareholders and stakeholders, I guess they're extremely high. So what does it mean in terms of how do you prepare your organization for that?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I communicate, with our employees, because we're now all remote, of course, on a weekly basis every Monday morning. I talk about in an email, about things that went on in my week before, and obviously the IPO was very central over the last couple of weeks. And, we really try to educate our employees on what's really going on, because for most people, it's a fairly opaque process. They don't really understand, how could they understand, right? Unless you've really been doing these things, and part of it, you wouldn't. So really understanding what valuations are, how companies get valued. Don't get wedded to these stock prices. Most of it, you should view it as entertainment. They go up and down. The only stock price that really matters is the one you sell at. Everything else is just, we call it noise,
Yeah. To what extent is rapid business growth and the technology enablement, in this case digital and data, of that growth two sides of the same coin, so to speak?
Well, it depends on whether you're a digital business or not, or trying to become a digital business. If you are, then technology is everything. That's the beating heart of your business. And a lot of Snowflake's customers are digital enterprises, or enterprises who are aspiring and really trying hard to become digital enterprises. Platforms like Snowflake become their beating heart, right? Because they're completely data driven. And processes are no longer people mediated, or people support processes. People are no longer in the process. So that's a big change. So in that sense, yeah, they're part of the same coin. They're really part of the same thing. And going forward, everybody will be executing in this mode in one form or another. It just depends on how rapid the adoption is. And it's different from one vertical industry to another, in retail, in consumer packaged goods, in media. The adoption is super aggressive. And, we have customers like Instacart and so on. And Instacart is a grocery delivery service in the U.S. I don't know how available it is outside of the U.S., but it's become a phenomenon like Amazon and Uber and many others in the U.S. And those companies are, for them, technology is everything, right? So.
Well, and if you put it in conjunction with the let's say the Dutch CEOs, what should they do to achieve this, to support these goals?
You need to start with a posture, number one, of just leaning in, right? The difficulty with CIOs is always, some of them are not leaning in. They're kind of avoiding, what's going on because they find it risky and don't see the upside. And then they get farther and farther behind, and they lose that muscle, right? Technology adoption is not an option. You're going to do it. The only question is when. And you really need to become good at technology adoption. Don't be afraid of your own shadow. Yes, things will go wrong, and we will have to clean up our messes. But lean into it. Don't sit back. You'll have trouble staffing and hiring talent because good people want to be in forward-leaning companies. And the second thing I would say is, make sure that you're really staffing for digital technology talent. You need to have hardcore expertise in your own operations. You can't outsource it, to a global system integrator or an IBM or whoever. We all become companies. We all become digital companies. It doesn't matter what our core business has been, right? So we have these conversations all the time, and we see people that are far out on the curve, and we see people that haven't even gotten on the curve yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you put it in perspective of let's say that boardroom dynamics, shouldn't it be a discussion with the board of directors and even the supervisory boards nowadays?
I'm not sure. As a CEO myself, I'm assuming that the board has delegated that authority to me. So, obviously, it's always good to discuss these things with your board. Risk posture, risk appetite, but it's not really an option, for organizations to become aggressive adopters of technology because things are not slowing down; they're speeding up. We're in the most monumental transitions in computing architecture that we've ever been, right? And you don't want to, risk getting left behind because a lot of things are going to get really difficult.
Yeah, but at least I sense that in this time of area to develop a little bit more risk appetite is good, right? Yeah,
you can't avoid risk. You can only manage it, right? Right. So we can run, but we can't hide. So let's get after it. It's much more energizing, to get after it than try to avoid it and slow things down, right? So I think let's lead from the front rather than be a tepid follower,
Right. I know you have constraints regarding the IPO in terms of communication, but is there anything in terms of news or announcements to make in the near future, or is there something like a scoop today, Frank?
You just can't. We're still in the what they call the quiet period, meaning that restricted to what we say in our public filings. But we'll let you know when we're good and ready what's going on and what's coming down the pike here. We do have an event on November 17th, and we're going to talk about the Snowflake data cloud. So that's public information. It's on our website. And, we suggest people dial into that. The data cloud is a new concept, new idea. It's all about unsiloing, unbunkering data, really, creating the full promise of data science, data analytics. It's something that hasn't happened in the history of computing. And we're very aggressive as a company, to make that happen. So it's a key part of the evolution of data, the data economy, running a data culture in your enterprises. So, we should suggest people dial in for that. there'll be a lot of good content, not just from us, but from our customers and our partners. So it's really an industry event, not just a vendor event.
Right. Just to wrap up and finalize, Frank, before I thank you for your time, if you look to that extreme growth ambitions that are within companies, what would you say as a chairman and CEO to our viewers as say, this is a do and this is a don't? As let's say, as a call to action or maybe a plea or to wrap it up for today.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of opinions on that, and some of them I've actually written about in blog posts on LinkedIn, as well as books that I've published. The thing about running companies is, you almost have no choice but to go full throttle. We need to be driving. We can't be presiding. And that means that we apply every ounce of energy, every ounce of focus, increasing the pace. In other words, you leave nothing, on the field here. You apply everything to the mission. You fight distraction, you fight mediocrity at every step, right? It's a mental attitude and a mental edge that you can bring to organizations that can dramatically change the outcome of what we're doing. So that is the secret sauce, and it's really not a secret. It's just how do you get out of bed in the morning? What is your mental attitude? How hard are you going to get after pursuing your business objectives, and how hard are your people getting after it at the same time? And I find there is just an enormous amount of potential and opportunity living in that margin.
Right. Well, thank you for the time you spent, for also our viewers in the Dutch CEO TV. I'm very pleased that I've seen your face again after last November. I still remember the story of the big dogs and the little rats, and everybody's still talking about it. So thank you very much, and I would say good luck, right, for the next period of time again.
Thanks, Rob.
Frank, ciao, ciao.